Welcome back, Anna. A squared.
Hey Josh, what's up?
Hey, do you know what days are the strongest? It's pretty obvious.
What days are the strongest?
Yeah, Saturday and Sunday. The rest are just weekdays.
That's so true. I have a question for you.
Fire away.
What do you call a well-balanced horse?
I don't know.
Stable.
Nice. Okay. You and I were getting ready for this week's episode, and then we ended up with some questions from people about the previous 2 weeks. So we talked about emergency funds, we talked about calculating your expenses, and we were going to kind of dive into investing, but I think we're going to punt on the investing thing till next week and tackle some of these questions that we got because I think they're pretty good questions, as a matter of fact. So I have a couple, you have a couple, and we're just going to kind of rapid fire them at one another. Do you want me to go first or do you want to go first?
Hit me with it.
So the first one here is from Marcus, and he is here in Texas, as a matter of fact. And he says, okay, I tried the 5-column thing. So that is talking about what we talked about in episode 2, building out your expenses and putting them in 5 different categories to make it super simple of income, taxes, debt, savings, lifestyle expenses. Those are the 5 columns. So he says, I tried out the 5-column thing and I'm stuck on where to put my 401k contribution. Is that savings or does it even come out before I even start? When I look at my paycheck, it's already taken out. So I don't know if I'm double counting.
It's a little bit confusing there. I understand that, but we want to put the 401k into the savings category. And at the same time, we want to make sure that the number you're using for income is your gross number. So it should list out what your gross income is for that pay period.
Okay.
And the 401k contributions will be just like your taxes, just like your medical premiums, just like anything else. It's going to be into these other different categories on your pay stub separately.
Got it. So this is just net paycheck versus gross paycheck, and sometimes, to be fair, a lot of times we think about how much money we take home, right? You think about your paycheck. You don't think I make 100,000, but I live on 80. You just go, my paycheck's 7,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the number that's in your brain because that's what you're spending. And so what we're saying is start with the 100 to get a real calculation here. Start with the 100, back out the 20 that you're saving in your 401k or whatever as a savings number. A, that's really what's happening. And B, it accurately is showing, then those 4 buckets will add up to the 5th one, basically.
Yep, exactly.
I like it. Your turn. Pick one.
Tom H. from Chicago. So he's talking about the risk-based approach.
Okay.
When we do the calculation for our emergency fund.
Got it.
And he's saying, isn't this just telling anxious people to keep more in cash and telling relaxed people to keep less in cash? And it's just kind of validating their own opinions about what they wanted in cash previous to even taking the quiz.
I mean, ultimately, so his question is this just all behavioral anyway? I think some of it really is. I think especially the last section around your expense flexibility, like how rigid is your expenses? You could look at it and say, I mean, yeah, I could totally cut half my lifestyle if I needed to. You think, and I think that that's a little too optimistic in reality. Unless your budget is really full of a bunch of discretionary stuff, which it could be. But for most people that we talk to, yeah, there's some discretionary things, but there's just not a lot. And so using that expense number that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, plus your debt, is a fair representation of really what it is to run your life. And if you want to adjust it a little bit, like, okay, there's a little fudge factor, but there's probably not as much as you would hope. Like you talked about a couple of weeks ago also, the behavioral side of this, on the other side of it is it's already a stressful time, right? If you're dipping into your emergency fund, if you're using this because you're laid off or because you changed jobs or whatever the case may be, it's already going to be a little chaotic in your life. Do you also want to be stressed about, sitting down and trying to remember all the subscriptions that you need to cancel now because you don't have your job? And really, are you going to cancel enough subscriptions to have that be a meaningful impact anyway?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are we talking about? You extended your emergency fund by 4 days. like
Yeah, and it also takes work to figure that out today.
Yeah, spend your energy on trying to get a new job. So I think there's a little bit of fudge factor on the fourth column. So the three columns were or the four categories, I should say, were, is your income dual or single? So you're going to add some.
Can't really lie on that one.
Yeah, that one is what it is. How flexible is your comp? Like, do you have total base comp or is it all variable? Again, not much fudging going on there. Like if your salary is your salary, or if you get like $160K salary and $300,000 bonus every year and you're spending, that's a big number. It's highly variable. The reemployment risk, I think maybe you could fudge factor that a little bit, I suppose. But, again, it's 0, 1, or 2, so it's not going to affect it a bunch. So, and then the last one is expense flexibility. So there's a little bit, but honestly, this is why we do it this way, because financial planning is meant to be personal. And so if his neighbor is Nervous Nelly, it goes, yeah, I think I should have 11 months or 11x my pay, then, or 11x my expenses, then okay. That makes sense.
And maybe he sleeps at night a little bit better just having that. And that's okay.
Yeah, it's kind of my point. Let's go with Priya in Seattle. Love Seattle.
Hey, Priya.
Beautiful part of the country. Same thing about the framework here. So I actually ran the numbers using your framework. We're dual income, both W-2 jobs, both stable. And so we scored a 3 on your scale, base plus 1 point for employment risk. My husband is a pretty specialized engineering role. So we have been keeping 6 months. Turns out we need 4. So it was a 3 plus 1. So they came to a 4. They were 0 on everything else. I just moved the $14K into our brokerage account. Is that exactly what I should do? Did I do it right?
Well, I wouldn't say specifically the brokerage account. Like, we don't need to hone in on that. Absolutely, we can save that extra $14K. Where that goes depends on the entire picture of where are you guys saving right now. Can you guys do Roth? Can you do backdoor Roth? Can you guys do additional savings into your 401ks? And you can kind of cash flow some loss of paycheck going into the 401k with that extra cash for a little bit. So there's like a couple of different places I guess we can put it. But
I mean, she said brokerage, but let's just say that she meant I moved it from emergency fund money to long-term investing.
To savings. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the best place to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Invest it, have it grow.
Get it out of there.
Done, Priya.
Done. All right. Hit me with the last one. We got time for one more.
Okay. All right. Derek and Camille in Denver, Colorado. They say they're both self-employed. They run a small construction company. Wife is a freelancer. They scored an 8 on the calculator, which means 11 months of expenses. So they're saying they took that 3 base that we requested plus the additional 8 that they scored in the quiz. Okay. So 11 months. They feel like that's a lot of cash sitting around and doing nothing. Do we really need that much? And what even counts as essential expenses for us? Our business expenses blur into personal ones all the time.
Rutro-Rorge.
Row, Derek. Get it together.
No, bad Derek. Don't do that. So and this is a common thing when it comes to entrepreneurs, especially small business owners who, have a lifestyle business, right? Something that is them plus whatever they're doing. The reality is that, you need to be separate. You need to run these two things as separate entities. Your business, the construction business, is separate than the freelance business that's separate from your person. And I get that there's a lot of money that's moving between all of 3 of these institutions, business, personal, but the goal is to have them all be separate entities. And so we want to work toward that. So let's just assume that that's the case and we can kind of separate that for a second. And the answer is, yeah, if you're supposed to have 11x, then you need to have 11x. There's a reason for this. This isn't like a completely arbitrary thing that we created one day. This is based on like what really happens in people's lives. And because your income is highly variable and because it's highly concentrated in a specific thing, that's why you scored the way you did. And if your business dries up, you still need to put food on the table. You still have to pay for your property taxes, and you're going to be using some money, frankly, to get your business going again. So having that extra cash is totally worthwhile. The other piece I'd add here is some people think, hey, I got to have this cash sitting there and it's just sitting in my checking account. It's not doing anything. So we didn't talk about this, but you should have 2 months of your money in your checking account at the bank, like where your expenses come from. That's your day-to-day driver. Always have 2 months there. It just makes it so that there's some stability in terms of payments and like it's there. The rest of your money, whether it's 1x, 2x, 11x, whatever the number ends up being, that needs to be in a high yield savings account, treasuries, something that's liquid and accessible, but is still paying you some interest. And I get that, hey, 4% is not a bunch of money, especially if you're saying, you know, this might be $200,000, right? I'm spending $20,000 a month. You're telling me I need 200K sitting in an account. That's an insane amount of money. Yeah, it is. And you're going to be paid for that stability, that you can get 4% dividends or 4% interest on that. But that allows you the flexibility. And we'll talk more about this on the investing side next week. Good lead in, Anna. Perfect tee up to next week. But this is part of the reason why we have this emergency fund first, is so it allows you to be aggressive with your investing later. And for people that have listened to the show for a long time, they know OG is all equities all the time. Like, that's the way it works. And there's a reason that we can say that confidently. It's because we've taken care of all your short-term needs up front. So yeah, you got to separate the businesses out. And if the numbers are the numbers, then those are the numbers. So great questions.
If the numbers are the numbers, then those are the numbers.
Yes. Hey. Trade TM OG. Don't copy my trademark. Looking at you, Spotify. Back to you in the studio.
Toodles.